Okay guys, we're going to kind of change up the pace here a little bit and we're going to jump back into your math journal starting with lesson 10.1, and this is dealing with decimal fractions, okay, multiplying by a whole number. So we're going to start right here where it says step in. Each square represents one whole. That's something we've already known. So this square represents 1, okay? And as I look at the square a little further, I notice it's divided into 10 different parts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so each piece is worth 10. Just as a reminder, kind of going over decimals one more time. So it says the shaded part shows one group of 2/10. Well, we know that to be true because we see 2/10 that are shaded. I see one here and one here. That represents 2/10. So the question they're asking is, how could you show 4 groups of 2/10? What about 6 times 2/10? Well, I'm going to start here where it says, how could you show 4 groups of 2/10? Well, to show that, I'm going to use the pen tool. And here's one group of 2/10, and they want me to show 4. So to do that, I would have to shade in another piece. Oh boy. Here's my second group of 2/10. Remember, here was my first, here's my second. I'm going to change the color so it's easy for you guys to see. Here's my third group of 2/10. And I'll change the color one more time. And here's my, oh my gosh, here's my fourth group of 2/10. Okay, so that's how I represented it. Now it says, what about 6 times 2/10? So here, I was really kind of taking 2/10 multiplied by 4. Okay, so if I wanted to do 6 multiplied by 2/10, I would have to fill that in 2 more times to get it up to 6. So I'm going to keep doing that. So here's 5, boom, and here's 6. So for instance, if I wanted to solve these, how could you show 4 groups of 2/10? Well, 4 groups, 1, 2, 3, 4, ended right here. I'm going to count how many that was total. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I know the answer to that was 8. Oops, that's supposed to be a decimal. 8/10. And then what about 6/10? Or 6 times 2/10? Well, that one ended up right here, so I know it was equal to 1 whole and 2/10 left over. So 1 and 2/10. Okay, are decimals starting to come back to you a little bit? I hope so. Now they're going to show another way to represent decimals, so we're going to move on to the number line. This number line is used to calculate 6 times 5/100ths. Okay, so down here they represent 6 different jumps, and each jump they moved 5/100ths. To help me better understand this number line, I kind of need to fill in the rest of it to see what it is I'm working with. So here I've got 5/100ths, here I've got another 5/100ths. So I know this jump right here is 0 and 1/10. Because I know that 5/100ths plus 5/100ths equals 1/10. So this mark right here represents 0 and 1/10, which means another 5/100th and another 5/100th is 0 and, oh boy, 2/10. And then another one would be 0 and 3/10. And then another one would be 0 and 4/10, which leads you to another one, which leads you to 0 and 5/10. Okay, that just helps me to better understand the question, and it helps me to visualize things a little bit better. So it says, what steps were followed? Well, to represent 6 times 5/100ths, they moved 5 notches over 6 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so forth, to get the answer of 0 and 3/10. Okay, then it says, how could you use the same number line to calculate 9 times 4/100ths? So it's very similar to the first problem, the 6 times 500ths, except now it's 9 times 400ths. So I know I'm going to be jumping 400ths 9 times. So I'm going to change the color again so you can see a little bit better. I'm going to do blue. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's my first jump. This isn't going to be pretty, guys. I'll try again. 1, 2, 3, 4. There. Now I need to jump 4 again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's my second jump. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's my third jump. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's my fourth jump. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's my fifth. 1, 2, 3, 4. 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. 7. 1, 2, 3, 4. 8. 1, 2, 3, 4. 9. So my final answer ended up right here, which puts me in between 3/10 and 4/10. So I know that this represents 3/10, so this would be 31/100ths, 32/100ths, 33/100ths, 34/100ths, 35/100ths, and this would be 36/100ths. So my answer here would be 0 and 36/100ths. Okay? Now moving on, it says Lyfin knows that 9 times 4 equals 36. That's true, we all know that. She records the product on a place value slider. Okay, so she's got 36. Right over here, the 10s would be 3, the 0s would be 6. I'm sorry, the 1s would be 6. How can she adjust the slider to calculate 9 and 4/10? Sorry, I think I read that wrong. How can she adjust the slider to calculate 9 multiplied by 4/10? Well, all she would need to do is move that decimal one place over. 9 multiplied by 4/10 would be 3 and 6/100ths. Or I'm sorry, 3 and 6/10. So 3 and 6/10. What about 9 multiplied by 400ths? Well, here, if she wanted to multiply by 400ths, she would need to move it over 2 decimal spots. So the decimal would actually land right here in front of the 3. So the answer to that problem would be 0 and 36/100ths. Okay, moving on. So what you're going to do, I'm going to do this problem for you, and then you're going to try B, and then I'm going to do this problem for you, and you're going to try B on your own, and then I'm going to do this one, and you're going to try B on your own. So technically, you'll have 3 different problems that you'll be responsible for. Okay, so the first problem right here, it says 3 multiplied by 2/10. So I need 3 groups of 2/10. Well, here's one group of 2/10. I need 3. So I'm going to do another group. Here's another group of 2/10. Oh boy. So 2 there. And then I need a third group of 2/10, so I'm going to change the color and do purple or green. Okay, here's my third group. So when I'm trying to solve this, I need to count how many groups I have. Here's 1, 2, 3. How many spaces do they take up? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 out of 10, so my answer there would be 0 and 6/10. Go ahead and try B on your own. To represent the next problem, 5 multiplied by 500ths, I just need to move over 500ths 5 different times. So here's 1 jump, 2 jumps, 3 jumps, 4, and 5. So now I just need to count that to get my answer. Like I mentioned earlier, it might be helpful to fill in the rest of your number line so that way you can see where you're at. So if this was 500ths, this would be 100th because we talked about 2 sets of 500ths equals 1/10. So this would be 2/10. And so my answer falls somewhere in between 2/10 and 3/10. In fact, it falls 1, 2, 3, 4, 500ths behind. So here my answer is 0 and 2500ths. Okay, go ahead and give B a try, and then we'll start this one here, and then you'll have this problem to go, and then you're done. Okay, complete these equations. 3 times 4. Well, I know that's 12. Okay, 3 times 4 tenths. Well, all I need to do is think about where the decimal would fall in this answer. If my answer is 12, it would look like this. Now, if I'm taking 3 times 4 tenths, I just need to slide that decimal over one place backwards. So here my answer would be 1 2 tenths. Now, if I'm taking 3 multiplied by 4 hundredths, I'm going to move it 2 spots over. So there my answer would be 0 and 1, 2, which reads 0 and 12 hundredths. Okay, go ahead and give these a try. I want you to write your answers back on Google Slides so I can see who's understanding it and who's not. If you have any questions, feel free to email me.